Welcome to Winners and Losers from the LFC Daytrippers. The forum is dead. Long live Winners and Losers, as said by Phil Casey earlier. That we have a intro on the Man On Football show, which is described by many as the best intro you have ever seen. I think we've just topped it. With that. The intro is made by Mohammed Jogee. He sent it to me when I asked him, "Could you make me something different?" And he meant, "I have something outrageously different."
Okay.
So
can I just say, right? Yeah. I love that intro.
Yeah, so it makes you laugh. It makes you smile, doesn't it?
However, when you sent that to me earlier on, I couldn't watch it with sound because I was thinking, and all I could hear in my head, and I encourage anyone to think of this, right, that when they're doing it the next time, right, is sing, the song, Mary, John, and Jeffrey, and Mary and Seamus, right? You know the song. Do 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 do.
Oh yeah,
do. That's all. That's all you hear. It's the best.
Yeah, I didn't know how this was going to go down. So if people in the chat can tell us how do you feel about that, please do. But I think we should keep it because it makes us all smile. We all smiled right through that from start to finish.
Somebody said that to Vladimir Putin before he invades the Ukraine. He won't now. If he sees that, he'll never invade anyway.
He's 69 years old. He looks fucking great for 69.
He does look great for 69, in fairness to him. But can we knock it into him? Because
he wrestles bears. He wrestles bears with his bare hands.
Yeah,
it keeps you young.
Yeah, I see him on a horse.
If you feel old, wrestle a bear with your bare hands, and it'll make you feel younger. So
do you reckon he would have been able to go swimming in those waves off the cliffs of Moher today down the Aran Islands? Do you see the size of them? Things were coming up over the edge. 100 feet waves. Absolutely mental it was.
Yeah. Chris Brack says he's never seen Phil smile so much. Who would have thought all it would have taken is a team tune? So there you go. If you're watching, you're very, very welcome. Please hit the like button if you're in here. It is a brand new show. It is going to be with you every Monday. It's called Winners and Losers, and we'll explain it as we go along. Like, share, subscribe, but most of all, throw your comments in there. They are up on screen, as you can see, and people can read them as we go along. We're going to talk about our charity later. We're going to talk a little bit about BetMe because we're going to have another go at that at the Liverpool Leeds game, and we're also going to talk about IP Vanish, which is a VPN service that you might be interested in, and there's a big discount on it for all our listeners. So, Winners and Losers is basically an alternative look at the Premier League's weekend, where we all pick one winner each and we all pick one loser each. And then Phil, because he's Phil, has decided he wants to go off topic on something which I'm going to bring up on the screen in a second, and we can talk about that to get us going. All right, so have a little think about your winners and losers. You can throw them in there and you can see if they match ours as well. So, Phil, you want to talk about this, okay? This is...
bring up the headline. I want to start off this week with the fella who either is the greatest winner or the greatest loser that the world has ever seen.
Remy Lindholm.
So far in 2022. Remy Lindholm is in a 50-kilometer cross-country skiing race in the Winter Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And
reduced to 30 because of snow.
Reduced to 30 because of snow in the Winter Olympics where they ski. I thought after they invented skis for.
It's too cold and there's too much snow. We're going to have to cut this race nearly in half, which is amazing.
It's so cold, the lads decide to wear tights. They're not wearing you could wear anything that you wanted. And this fella is rinky dinky, gets frozen as he goes across the track.
Yeah, so we can bring it up there.
Now to add to all,
I'm not going to read it all, but the shortened to 30 kilometres, but it did not help Finland's Remy Lindholm, nope, who needed a heat pack at the end of his race to thaw out a particularly sensitive body part. He spent just under an hour and 16 minutes traversing the course in howling, freezing winds, leading to his penis becoming frozen for the second time in a cross-country skiing race, following a similar incident in Ruka, Finland last year. He is so unlucky.
Yeah. You know when that happens the first time?
Yeah.
I'm done. I've done my bit for the sport.
With organisers.
He finished 28.
28. Yeah, with organisers worried about frostbite during Saturday's race. It was delayed by an hour and shortened by 20 kilometres. The tin suits and underlayers worn by racers, as well as plasters to cover their faces and ears, offered little protection. Lindholm explained that he used the heat pack to try and thaw out his appendage once the race was over. When the body part starts to warm up after the finish, the pain was unbearable. So there you go.
It would be, wouldn't it?
You know, we're all about talking about football, but there you go. He's had a tough weekend, hasn't he?
Second time.
Yeah.
Second time.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's two things here. Either you'd never do it again after it happens the first time, because like, why, right? Or secondly, do you not take some extra precautions so that it never happens again? It's not like they start out on this race and go, geez, it got cold when we were out there. We weren't expecting that now.
Yeah.
It's the Winter Olympics. You're in the snow and it's windy and everything. Second time. Do something. Bring a hot water.
And a shortened race as well. Like, shortened, and he still got done with a frozen bleeding willy. Like, what's going on here?
It's mad, but it's a great start to what we're trying to do here.
What a way to start winners and losers.
Winners and losers. We'll try to do an off-topic one every week if possible. We'll feel more than likely demand it. But let's go and let's start with winners and losers. Kev, I'm going to come to you first, and we'll start with you off with your winner of the weekend.
Winner of the week, Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, I like it.
And look, they've just gone quietly about the business. Nobody's taken any notice of them. They're sat in 7th place. If you look at the form table for the last 6 games, they're in 2nd. If you look at the last 6 games, they have 5 wins, 1 loss, scored 10, conceded 4. And they're literally, we're top of that with 5 wins and a draw. Nobody's talking about them when it comes to Europe, and they're sat there with 2 games in hand on West Ham, and they're sat 2 points behind them.
They're right in it.
They brought Pedro Neto back off the bench yesterday after a long injury. You know, it was a horrific injury, and he had a big relapse as well. Podence looked good yesterday. They're just hard to score against, and they pick up wins. You know, 1-0, 2-0. They're a horrible side to play against because of that back 5. The one thing that Nuno did really well, he drilled them. And this new guy they brought in, was it Lage?
Lage.
He's just given them a bit of not a bit of confidence, but he's made them want to play again, a different type of way. And what he's getting out of João Moutinho, I mean, what a player. 36 years of age. They paid, I think, $5 million for him when they were in the championship. Now, look, how they get players is a bit dubious. We all know that. But they got a tune out of him, and they're still getting a tune out of him. Neves, how they've been able to keep him for as long as they have, is a phenomenal player. You know, he might not suit us, but if he was in your squad, you'd be fairly happy with him. And their squad is fairly littered with players like that. Altinuri played left wing back yesterday, did well. But when we played Wolves, he played up against Salah, and he had a really good game. You know, a young kid coming through.
He's only 20.
You know, yeah. We got Jota because they thought Podence was ready, you know, and he had a bit of a setback, but he's shown that he's a very good player. The conveyor belts is just
going under the radar. Because, like Chris Brack says there, before Leicester game, they only conceded 1 goal from open play in previous 12 games. 1 goal from open play in the previous 12 games, right? And you seen Roy Keane on Sky yesterday when United won, saying, oh, if United can just keep this little bit of a swagger about them, they should get top 4. And he's not even taking into consideration that Arsenal have 3 games in hand on them, behind them. Now, I'm not saying Arsenal get all them points. Spurs had a big win at City, and I think have a game in hand somewhere.
But Spurs have 3 games in hand, so have Arsenal on United and West Ham.
Yeah, and they're only, 4 points behind them or something like that, 5 points behind them?
Spurs are in 8th at the moment. They've played 23,
39.
they're on 39 points. United are in 4th. They've played 26 on 46 points. It's all very tight.
Yeah, but Wolves, like Phil, we look at you know, United, Arsenal, Spurs. West Ham are in that mix, but West Ham seem to be faltering a little bit, even though he's sitting 5th. He's played a lot more games than the rest, right? What would it be like for Wolves to just come through the pack here and just destroy like Arsenal United sports season. It'd be a fucking mental, wouldn't it?
It would, but it's never going to happen.
Why?
Finances.
What?
It's simple. It's simple. You can make it up all you want, but the likelihood of
But
Wolves coming through
they've 13 games left. They've 13.
86%.
Yeah, but they've 14 games left. Based on what you've seen this season, they've no Europe. They're as good as anyone around them at the moment.
They've only conceded 18 goals. They've only conceded 18 goals in 24 games, and that's City have only 17. They're the best. Then Chelsea are on 18. Wolves are on 18, but they've only scored 23, which I think is a problem for them.
Chris, our Wolves are Kev's winners of the weekend, but you're not having a bar of them getting that top 4.
I think they had a great weekend, having a great run, but when it comes to the business end, they won't be anywhere near it. They might finish 6th or 7th, best.
Like they finished there with the frozen Mickey.
Yeah.
28 he finished. The second time it's happened. But look, it's great. These teams, it's like when Martin O'Neill used to manage Aston Villa, and look, they might get top 4 this year. Never happened. It's not going to happen.
But you not think one of
Arsenal, United, and our Spurs.
But the rest of them, I know Arsenal are, they'll tell you they're getting their act together, and Spurs look like they could be a threat. United look like they're still running through quicksand. West Ham maybe faltering. Like, there is an opportunity there, I think, for Wolves to sneak in and put pressure on. I agree with Phil. I don't think they'll make it.
Yeah, I don't think they will. But I think they'll qualify for Europe.
It's definitely an under the radar one because nobody's
paying
really
attention.
Sees it. No one notices that they're actually in that shake-up. They're in that fourth.
There's a lot being made of Arsenal, Spurs having games in hand, West Ham faltering a bit. United win there against Leeds the other day, right? But when United, did he win at home at Brighton? Maybe. But they were beaten recently, weren't they, United? They were beaten recently.
United aren't
they're
on
all
a
fairly
bad
shite.
run.
Yeah, they're all. So you've got marginal. So you've got the top 2, right? Then Chelsea. Then you've got about 4 teams who are sort of in a race amongst themselves for that last spot. And when you look at it, 3 of those teams have spent a lot more money than the rest. And when it boils down to it, it's generally one of those teams that who spends a lot of money. That's United, Spurs, or Arsenal, more so than the rest of the teams. Wolves, I think, are doing a great job for a point per pound spent or whatever it is. They're doing a great job, and they've got a great system that's generating lots of money for George Mendes. So
they go to Arsenal next. They play Arsenal next.
Is that in the Emirates?
Yeah, they go to Arsenal. They're only defeating those 6 games is at home to Arsenal. But if they were to go to Arsenal and beat Arsenal, you're kind of going. I get what you're saying about the quality in the squads and the money spent and the, I suppose, the reserves that other teams have. But if they go and beat, I'm not saying for a minute they'll get top 4. I'm not saying they'll definitely get top 4. But I'm saying to myself, the other teams around them, nobody's in a great run of form. Nobody's taken it by the scruff of the neck. Like West Ham have played 3 more games than them, right? Or 2 more games than some, and they're just drawing everywhere. And still it's taken to the weekend to go past them.
You're comparing, you're saying West Ham have played 3 more games, and it's just, look, at the end of the day, it's night time, right? And there's one thing that's guaranteed at night: the stars come out and the moon shines. What's going to happen is one of United, Arsenal, or Spurs are going to put enough of a run together before the end of the season to make sure they're well ahead of Wolves. Probably 10 points ahead of Wolves.
I don't know. But I don't know where the evidence of that comes from. I don't know where the
every
confidence
season
in that is. I know, but I think with 12 to go, the team probably with the least to lose in this is Wolves. The pressure's off them. They're not expected to do anything. Spurs have a huge expectancy to try in the top 4.
There's no expectancy for Spurs to get top 4.
There has to be, Phil, because of the money they lost through COVID, along with the building of that stadium. They hit massive financial buffers during the whole COVID thing.
United have the biggest expectancy to get top 4.
100%. But behind them, Arsenal need to get into the top 4 to protect the young players they have and keep it holding. And Spurs need to get in there simply to have some sort of attraction to that club because of the.
I think Arsenal can fall back on we're a young squad, we're rebuilding, we're this, that, and the other.
It won't mean a thing in the summer if they don't get top four, because someone will come in and just go.
Conte, which gives an expectation in itself. Conte's not a long-term manager where he's been. So, you know, they can't just write off this season. I think they're desperate to try and get top four so he can get players in. But
I think United get top four. Just down to the fact that of the rest of the teams, they've got the best squads, and eventually individual players showing through on this type of thing.
Emma Kavanagh says Wolves have Arsenal on Thursday and West Ham on Sunday. So there's
the thing with Man United is it depends on how far they go in Europe. The further they go in Europe, the more pressure it puts on the squad. And they're not that good. They beat Leeds yesterday, but Leeds were poor. And they beat Brighton, but it was a red card that Brighton picked up, and Brighton were all over them.
Battering them up till then.
That's the same Brighton that got battered at the weekend by Burnley. You know, United are not playing well. They're picking up points, yeah, but they're well capable of going 3 or 4 games without a win, and that dressing room is well capable of downing tools as well.
What's next, Gav?
Hold on, before we move off, Phil, I want to ask you, before we do move off Wolves, how do you rate Jose Sa as a goalkeeper? Because I think he's been excellent for them coming in. They lost Rui Patricio in the summer, and they had to replace him, and they brought in Sa, and he's been an excellent signing, one of the best signings of the season, I would say. Do you rate him, or are you not a fan, or are you not familiar with his back catalogue?
With his catalogue of work so far?
Yeah.
The bits
got a great beard.
I think the bits that I've seen of him, I think he's been solid. Position 6 to 15 in the Premier League goalkeeper. That's the best I can do. He's like a UC Laskaloinen or a Kasper Schmeichel, where they're a good mid-range goalkeeper, right? They're not good enough to be elite, but they're good enough to be better than Shai, if that makes sense. So they're better than all the English goalkeepers in the Premier League. Put it that way. Every single English goalkeeper is garbage, and he's better than all of them.
Right, so they're currently in 7th, so you would take out Aaron Ramsdale at Arsenal.
No, Shai. He's absolutely Shai.
Oh, yeah, English muck. So take him out. So you'd say, like, he's behind Ederson, he's behind Alisson, he's behind Mendy, he's behind De Gea, he's behind Fabianski, and he's behind Lloris. And you think that's probably a fair reflection of where he would stand?
I'd say it's definitely, I'd put him ahead of Fabianski.
Yeah.
Look, I think Fabianski is grossly inconsistent, and has been. That's why he never lasted at Arsenal. That's why he was never the solution to Arsenal's problems in goal. So, but he's in that bracket. You know, that bracket of goalkeepers that sort of fall into the mid tier, where they'll have a really good season and everyone thinks, oh, he's the type of player that should do it, right? But for me, like the top level of the goalkeepers in England, like Lloris is having a decent-ish season in comparison to his last 4 or 5 seasons with Spurs.
Which are waiting on a mistake from him.
Yeah, always.
Like the first goal for Man City the other day is a ball in from Sterling, straight at him, and he manages to fucking drop the thing. And people would say,
every game.
The forward was running across him, and Jamie Carragher said something like, the quality of the ball from Sterling. He literally kicked it towards him, and Lloris just let it drop
straight out in front of him,
and Gundogan just knocks it in. But look, we could go down a mad rabbit hole. We're trying to do this in an hour, and Phil, after demanding me do only an hour, has now cost us 20 minutes on the fourth.
Sorry.
So,
it's not my fault.
First loser of the week, Phil. Who's your loser?
Steven Gerrard.
Okay.
I had him on my list as well.
Steven Gerrard, right? After his start where he was nailed on as the Liverpool manager, it's gone an awful lot Pete Tong at Villa. Probably for those of us who weren't expecting him to be great as a manager or be elite, it's gone the way we expected. They seem to have done, like they've signed Coutinho. Again, they seem to be trophy signings for a team that's not made its bed, right? It's like it's there seems to be holes in that Villa squad. And rolling out Coutinho, I don't know what it was meant to achieve. Was it meant to get them into the bracket that Kev's talking about, getting them into Europe? But they look deeply flawed, and to go and get absolutely schooled by a Roy Hodgson team.
Well, they won on the 14th of December away to Norwich, and they've won 1 game since, and we're in the 24th of February, and the only win they've had is a 1-0 win away at Everton.
How well have Norwich done since then?
Norwich have actually picked up a little bit.
The reason I'm asking is because that's who was replaced, wasn't it? He replaced Dean Smith.
Yeah. He replaced Dean Smith.
Yeah.
I could look it up for you, but
I look at again. But just for me, the whole Gerrard thing, it's a massive learning curve from. I'm going to Villa where there will be an expectancy. This is make or break time. Whether Gerrard's going to disappear into the realms of great players, not great managers, or else he's going to have to find a solution. But at this moment in time, I don't know where he finds a solution to that Villa team. It's not Coutinho.
No, I think
No.
to be honest with
take
you,
a couple of windows for him.
But the signings he makes at Villa, I think the Coutinho one is quite a cute one because I think it takes a bit of pressure off him. And what I mean by that is Coutinho's a big name. He goes for massive money from Liverpool to Barcelona. It doesn't work. He's a couple of knee injuries. He falls out of favour. Barcelona want rid of him. And he brings him in on loan with an option to buy. And I thought it brought less pressure on him because if he'd have went out and spent, say, 50 million on a player in that position, people would go, wow, he signed a £50 million player in his fourth window in that position. This player better absolutely smash the place to bits, or Gerrard's going to not look foolish, but already they would have called his judgment into question. Do you know what I mean? Like he signs Digne from Everton at £26 million and has looked a good signing. You know, he signs Callum Chambers from Arsenal, which I think is a really, really weird one. Yeah. But he does that anyway. But at the moment, I think they only have something like 2 wins in 9 games, 2 wins in 10 games, something along them lines. And they seem to have stopped scoring goals where, you know, they have a ding-dong with Leeds, don't they, in a 3-3, but they seem to be getting beaten 1-0 here and 2-0 there. And it's Keith, is it just part of the learning curve for Steven Gerrard?
Yeah, I mean, it's a step up from Rangers, you know, where you're playing in a league where you're expected to, and not expected, you are going to win 99%. In fact, he went the season unbeaten, you know, so it wasn't that you had to dig in really. You had to dig in, I suppose, to get ahead of Celtic at the start, but it's a different level here. You're talking about the Premier League. Now, I think Coutinho's been a good signing for them because I think he's doing okay. I think he's doing the sort of numbers, but we all know, I think everybody is expecting him to pick up a knock somewhere and be out and to go off a stride. But I think Villa have a good squad. I think they've the makings of good players, but they've got a few gaping holes, and Tyrone Mings for me is absolutely bleeding deplorable. And they have an issue up front with Watkins and Ings. I think Buendia has come in and is starting to do well. He's starting to find his feet. I think Ramsey has been one of the finds of the season. But I just think it's, you know, he's starting to see the issues that are there. I think that when they bought in Ings, they hadn't got a plan for what to do with him and Watkins together, and I think it's a huge problem. They're putting Watkins out wide, or Ings isn't just scoring. And I think when you get, I don't think he needs that headache of having a big money signing. Leon Bailey, bonkers is saying, is injured or not getting a game. Like, he's another one. You know, all these big players that he has to try and get a song out of, and he's not. You know, he's brought in Coutinho and he's happy to let him run. He's happy to let Buendia find his feet. But when you've got Ings and all, and they're not scoring, I think it's a bit of a problem, and I don't know how he solves it, because something Phil said about him being the Liverpool manager, he has to do really fucking well there. He has to do exceptional at Villa to get that Liverpool job, and anything less than exceptional, I don't want him near Liverpool on reputation if he's had a failed spell at Villa or a failed spell somewhere else. So, you know, I think we all, as Liverpool fans, he's the former captain, I think we all want him to do well there, but I think he's realised, except Phil, I think he's realised that, you know, it's not going to be as easy to pick up points. It's not going to, his name and his reputation and his values and his principles will get him so far, but he's going to have to start turning things around within that squad to start getting points on the board.
Yeah, Kev, like, you know, it's said there, like, he's not going to be, he's not going to change it in one window. Is it? You know, when he starts off really well. I think their opening game with him, I think they beat Brighton. They go away and win at Palace, don't they? They get narrowly beaten by Villa at Villa Park, or by City at Villa Park, and they have a real go. You know, let me see. Veranda Cheese says you can't be laughing at Stevie G because he loses a game every second week. Wait until he puts his own stamp on the team, which you know takes time, and that's probably where we should look at it. For you, Kev,
I don't like the stamp that he done in January, but Callum Chambers wasn't a good stamp.
Yeah, but Callum Chambers, I thought was a weird one. But Kev,
They lost to Zabi.
But he needs more time than he's 3 months in the job or whatever it is, right? He is probably a loser of the weekend because he's been beaten by a Roy Hodgson Watford, Kev. But overall, it's going to be like this for Villa, isn't it? You know, win a couple, lose a couple, win a couple, lose a couple. Very inconsistent. And then when you get to the summer, you'll see who he brings in and if he does take a Coutinho on full time, or who he brings in, or who he lets go. It's going to be like. Do you think it's just going to be like that, Kev, where it's going to be very inconsistent at the end of the season, and they finish about 12th, and we all say
no. Look, it shouldn't be. I think that's too easy to just say it's going to be up and down. That it's not the hardest thing in the world to coach a shape and a defensive shape and build from the back and be solid. You know, make yourself hard to beat and trust the fact that you've got Buendia and Coutinho and Watkins and Ings to pinch you a goal. It's basics, and he's not coaching the basics. They're poor from set pieces. They're out of shape too often. And this is the basic stuff in Premier League football as opposed to what's going on in Scotland that you get exposed to because analysts work you out very quickly in this league. And if you've got flaws in how you play, they'll expose it. And they are exposing it. The more Villa play, the easier it is for sides to get at them and to figure ways out of playing them. You can't have two fullbacks bombing on alongside with two wingers like Buendia and Coutinho and a forward in Watkins and then realise that the centre of your park is wide open. He's done nothing about it. He hasn't addressed it. And he has to show that he can work with what he's got as well. Yeah, January or the summer window will come and he'll bring in better players, but he's getting dragged into the bottom half of the table where at one stage they were talking about Villa pushing on to Europe.
Yeah.
Well, if he gets relegated.
Oh, I think they're 5 points
He's
ahead.
miles off that.
They're 5 or 6 points ahead of whoever's 4.
They're 9 points ahead of Watford.
Yeah, they're 9 points ahead.
Yeah.
But look,
when you're on that type of run, I'm
Yeah.
telling you now, we've seen teams that look like to be safe and pushed on for Europe at Christmas time and then vanish down a hole. Forest is a classic example when they first went down out of the Premier League. They were fine up until December
Yeah, I
time.
think
And then just
Reading is the one standout one from that kind of a list.
I remember Blackpool being being about 7th or 8th come Christmas and got relegated.
Yeah.
So you just couldn't win a game. But like Shane Down says he reckons you should judge Gerrard about 10 games into next season. I'm on that. I'd agree with that, but at the same time, he kind of has to choose what he wants to do here. It seems to be very different every week as to what they're trying to do. He should probably just go, listen, let's go solid and see it out for the rest of the season. Red Steve says the winner of the week is Gav's missus getting him to change out of that grey fleece he had on earlier. I only put it on to upset you, Red Steve.
Was this the 2 o'clock show, was it?
Yeah. I had a different
I
top on
never
it,
get to see the 2 o'clock show because of work, like, so it's like we have
a lovely time. Loads of people just come in and make a cup of tea, a few biscuits, and we just talk about whatever we want to talk about. It's usually meant to be about Liverpool, but we end up talking about all sorts. It's really good. Keith, go on, give us a loser of the week, Keith.
Right, my loser of the week are Everton.
Here we go. Strap yourself in.
It was never going to be quick with Everton, was it?
No.
Oh, look, to be honest, I picked Villa as well, and you said they had it, and I had Leicester in my mind as well, and I went for Everton. Look, we can make fun of Everton, right? And we can talk about, too good to go down. But when Phil talks about teams that take a nosedive, they're in an absolutely horrendous bit of form. And the fans were convinced that Frank Lampard was some sort of fucking incarnate of every great manager that's ever been. And they're starting to realise now that he's Frank Lampard. And with the players
he's won an FA Cup game at home 4-1 against Brentford. He's beaten Leeds at home 3-1. He's lost away to Newcastle, I think, 2-0, I think. Or maybe 1-0. And he's lost 2-0 away to Southampton. So it's very much, I'll get them up for home games and I can't do anything away from home, Keith. Yeah. I think they've 2 wins in 14 games or something.
Yeah, they've, in their last, I'm only looking at their last 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, their last 8, they've 3 wins. One of them was against Hull in the Cup, and that was a scrape. They were beaten by Norwich, they were beaten by Villa, they were beaten by Brighton, beaten by Newcastle, beaten by Southampton. And they're not looking good, and that's the issue I have with them. They're talking about that young fella. They're talking, right, for example, Lampard's getting all this credit for discovering Anthony Gordon. Could have swore he was playing before Lampard came in there. But Lampard is getting... We know how... Yeah, we know how Everton fans go on, and we know how they react. And they're talking about banners and all this for Lampard because he said something shy in a press conference.
He said when he arrived at Everton, he realised that the club was the fans' life.
Yeah, so let's get that on a banner. Do you know what I mean? And they seem to have this sense of delusion at Everton. And I can never get my head around it. You know, they need to accept what they are and where they are if they ever want to progress as a club, but they don't. They think they're this fucking higher team that should be up there challenging for the top four or challenging for titles. They're one of the worst teams in the league, right? They are one of the worst teams in this form. They're one of the worst teams, 100% one of the worst teams in the league. And I think they can go down. And I think this weekend is just going to be another... It'll start to turning the screw on the Frank Lampard tail, I think. Another couple of defeats for them. You know, they're already talking about they don't want to beat City to do us a favour. I'm not holding out.
Yeah, they want a lot of them. I've seen one person in particular today on social media saying, "Look, I'm not ashamed to say it, but I want us to lose to Manchester City because I think it will do us more benefit. It will do. It will be more beneficial to lose and give ourselves, you know, make it a little bit harder to stay up than win and make it a little bit easier for Liverpool to win the title."
Yeah, they said a point that Man City isn't going to make a difference to them in their league. Well, I tell you what. They need every point they can get. Do you know what I mean? They're not in a position to be turning their nose up at any fucking points. So I think they're in a really, really hard position, but I can't see where they're going to turn around.
I was shocked at the weekend when I seen the lineup. You know, especially the way they set out. They looked like a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
They've bought Danny van der Beek from United, who I think is a really good player, right?
Yeah.
And it's screaming out for him to play ahead of a two-man midfield. That's what it's screaming out for. And you play two guys either side of him, and you play Calvert-Lewin up front, and they literally didn't. They went and they put him in midfield with Alan, and went toe-to-toe with Southampton, who are well drilled in a 4-4-2, and they got absolutely overrun. They didn't have a shot on target in the whole game. Not a shot on target in the whole game. And I think they're in real trouble, and people keep saying Everton too good, Everton this, Everton that, the managerial bounce and stuff like that. They play City at the weekend and lose, and one team around them gets a result. They are right in it. And the only thing that's stopping a full-on meltdown is the fact they've got a game in hand on most of them around them.
But games in hand are no good when you can't get a fucking point. Do you know what I mean? That's a hindrance.
They're not at all. Kev, loser of the week for Keith is Everton. Do you think they get over, or do you think this could be we just keep saying they get over until the point where it looks like they won't?
I think it could go really late into the season before they might get out of it. But you look at the sides below them, not Brentford, but Burnley, I think, will really challenge to get safe. I think Weghorst has been will prove to be a very good signing for the way they play. And with the games they have in hand and who they have to play, I think they could get safe. Newcastle have bought their way out. They'll be fine. And then you're talking Watford. I think if Hodgson had taken over instead of Ranieri, Watford would be fine. But I don't think he has enough time to get them out of trouble, but it'll be close. Everton are getting right dragged into it because it's one step forward, 3 or 4 steps back with them all the time. And it doesn't take much. If they get dragged into it, if they get into... Say if they end up one weekend and they are in the bottom 3, they'll go apoplectic.
Oh yeah.
I think the fact that they're at home to City this weekend could hurt them, because they've won their both home games. It's a cup game and it's a league game that they've won. They've lost both their league games away, so it's a kind of we're winning at home. It's just the away form. If they go and get bashed by City at the weekend at Goodison, that whole sense of it'll be okay at home goes completely out the window. I don't care if it's Man City.
They could get absolutely torn to shreds by City.
Oh yeah,
City could rattle 6 off them, and it wouldn't be a surprise to anyone. It'd be a surprise if they don't rattle 4 or 5 because of the way they performed in the Spurs game. They're desperate for a win.
Well, Phil is laughing here, and I don't know whether it's laughing because he doesn't know what the fuck's going on at Everton, or the fact that I'll tell you what, I'll just lead straight into it, and I was going to do me next, but Phil, tell us who your winner of the week is.
Frank Lampard.
Go on.
Look, at the end of the day, the guy is having a great time. He's managed Chelsea, he's managed Derby, he's gone to Everton. He's having a great trip up the Northwest now at this stage. He's guaranteeing himself a range of jobs in the Premier League for the next 5 to 7 years as a relegation superstar, right? So, it's brilliant. Like, what's going wrong? The Everton fans are making songs at this moment in time in support of Frank Lampard, right? They were chasing Rafa out of Goodison with pitchforks for the team playing better and for getting better results than they are of Frank Lampard. But they're making songs for him, and they're out in support. They're going to have banners. There's been a run on bed sheets in Primark this week for the banners that they're going to have in Goodison this week. There's 7 of them. Seven bed sheets were bought. They bought the grey ones initially, but they couldn't get the right markers to work with the grey ones, so they now moved on to the black ones. So they're absolutely flying. So, like, for me, like, I think Frank Lampard's on an absolute. Like, think about it. He's turned up at Everton, right? Looked like he couldn't figure out where he was for a couple of minutes on the press conference. It was great. He was just looking around, he was asking questions, and he just started saying things, and they all started going, yeah, that's great, that's brilliant. And he's like, yeah, I'll ride this one. All I have to do is say something people, and something people's club, something for the people. And they were all like up on the chairs cheering and throwing buntings and things. So he knows all he has to do is turn up at a press conference and say something people's club. And
is it a no-lose situation for him, Phil? Because he's followed Rafa Benitez, so no matter what happens, like, I agree with Keith to an extent. If this gets worse and worse, right, they'll start copping and going, oh, this fella isn't happening. It's just not fucking happening, right?
That's
but
what
is that part of it, Phil, where no matter what happens, because they've, like, for me, the big thing was, Phil, when they wanted Rafa out, they wanted someone in that knew the club, someone that knew Everton, and then Lampard came in, and they were like, Lampard said that he knows that this is their life, and I'm kind of going, Lampard could turn up at fucking Bradford City next week and say the exact same thing. It's not exclusive to Everton. It's a completely stock answer you would give when trying to impress a fan base.
Christian Gross could turn up waving a tube ticket at Everton and just say something about Jurgen Klopp, and they'll all be backing him.
Exactly,
as well.
or just a big laminated picture of Bramley Dock where the mega structure has started and nothing's
Ashley
happened.
Cole is part of the coaching.
But Phil, is it a no-lose situation for him where there will be an element of that fan base who, remember, were putting up the bed sheet you speak of that they didn't want them? Was it Paulo Ferreira? Was that the guy's name?
Yeah,
didn't want him. We want Lampard. They were having protests and everything, right? Is there an element, Phil, that no matter what happens here, it'll be just a case of, oh, well, what did you expect? Look where Rafa left us, and look where the club left us, and poor Frank Lampard.
Yeah, and the media will lap it up. There was Rafa going in, destroying the club again, leaving a team in ruins, and Lampard had to pick up the pieces, and it was very unlucky on him, but he'll definitely get them back up from the Championship when next season, and he's definitely worth the support. Look what he was doing with Derby. He's the right manager to lead Everton back and turn this around, and like, we have to be careful, because if Lampard manages to get them out of the Championship next season, they're definitely the up and coming team in Liverpool at that stage, right? Now,
the power shift, like,
the power shift will definitely happen after they get up out of the Championship. It's like, it really is. It's, to me, Frank Lampard is definitely the winner. He took on Jurgen Klopp. That's what he did. He took on Jurgen Klopp, and he beat Jurgen Klopp at the shouting game. And then he also, so far, he's winning the sheet game at Everton. And I think if he can avoid the few boos that might come along at because because Everton have actually dumped blue out of their name, and they've just replaced it with boo. So everything now, they wear the blue colour jersey, and the boos on Merseyside, and it's everything. They're just replacing it. There's no colour anymore. It's just boos. So you walk down the thing, just boo at each other, and that's how they greet themselves. So for me, Lampard's the winner, is the inimitable winner of the week. I don't think there's going to be anyone as good. Even if we win all 4 trophies, we won't get close to how big of a winner Frank Lampard is at Everton this season. And that, to me, is why this is it. John, Power Shift FC with the floaty water, the magical floating water stadium, because every time Everton get into difficulty, there's some type of announcement on the Echo's webpage about the Floaty McFloaty Stadium, the stadium of water. It's just, it's immense. It used to be when
Frank won't be there to see that.
Do you remember when FSG used to jump in whenever things were going really shit under Rodgers, and they'd make an announcement about what they're going to do to Anfield? here's this week's truss.
Yeah. Well,
we got a crane.
I think there's something in it. I think there's something in it that it could be a case of it's a no lose situation for him. Before we move on, I'm gonna throw out my winner. But before we do, IP Vanish is a VPN service that have very kindly given an offer to us for our listeners and viewers. They have a big sale on at the moment, 70% off. But if you go to ipvanish.com/daytrippers, you will get another little bonus on top of that. So basically with IP Vanish, they just want to let you know that going incognito when you're browsing doesn't actually protect your privacy. Without added security, you may as well have your private data be handing it to hackers, advertisers, your ISP and other prying eyes. IP Vanish make it easy to stay private and secure on the internet. Okay, they 100% encrypt your data. This means that your private details, passwords, communication, browsing history and more will be completely shielded from falling into the wrong hands. Even your physical location will be hidden. IP Vanish makes it virtually invisible online. It's that simple. You can use it on unlimited devices, tablets, computers, phones, even on your Fire Stick if you're streaming some media, so don't forget that as well. At home, in public, you can go online and use IP Vanish and you can be absolutely protected. They're offering a 70% off the yearly plan for our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee. It's basically 9 months free if you work it out. If you go on to the IP Vanish site at ipvanish.com, you will see a rate for the year with a discount. If you do ipvanish.com/daytrippers, you will see another little bonus on top of that. Very easy to use. It's one button and you're protected, so make sure you check it out. You won't even know it's there. Just once you hit the button, you walk away as normal, and they are ranked 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. ipvanish.com/daytrippers. Check it out if you're looking for a VPN now or in the future. And as I said, 70% off, so go and check them out. So, my winner of the week is Joelinton of Newcastle. Because I happened to be watching. Was it Saturday they played? I think it was Saturday.
I'm still here. I'm using IP
Saturday morning.
Oh, Phil's using IP Vanish. He's disappeared.
Yeah.
But Joelinton, Newcastle made a couple of signings. They've kind of picked up form. And I watched West Ham against Newcastle the weekend. I thought Newcastle were the better side. Although West Ham were chasing the far, I thought Newcastle looked at the better. The more ideas going forward for me. They better shape, they were more solid. They looked like they wanted that bit more. The only thing they really lacked Newcastle was a finisher. If they had a finisher there, even a Callum Wilson who can finish or a Maximum that can finish, they would have they would have won this game handy. But Joelinton in midfield, who turns up as a £40 million player, I think, from
45.
Germany.
From
Hoffenheim. He turns up as a striker that you look and you go, not the most mobile, holds it up, a little bit of skill, didn't get many goals. And then you watch him. He's playing midfield, right? With John Joe Shelby beside him in the engine room for Newcastle at the weekend. And he was fucking outstanding. Like, he was winning headers, he was winning tackles, he was carrying the ball at the pitch, passing it well, he was getting crosses in. He was doing everything a midfielder should do. And I'm looking going, this guy is a centre forward. What has gone on here? And I still stand by the fact that I don't think Eddie Howe will last. If they stay up, I don't think he lasts at the club. But he's got them playing to a point where they're picking up points and they're looking a bit more solid in everything to do. But I wanted to give a big shout out to Joelinton because I thought he was absolutely excellent at the weekend. Keith, it just shows, doesn't it? Like, you see players and you go, that's just not working for him. Joelinton will be out the door, and he just stuck him into midfield for the last 3 months, and he's just been unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been very surprising, Gav, because I didn't think he had it in his game. I thought he was a forward who could play a wide, and that was it. Seeing him playing in centre mid and getting stuck in, that's where I didn't think, he's not afraid to get his foot in and into the battles. I think he's been excellent for them in there, and he's a big unit as well. He's big, he's physical. I don't think it's going to save them too much money. I think they'll look to literally replace every player in that squad over the next 2 years, with the exception of San Maxima. I think every other, except the ones they've literally just brought in, like Emirates and that. But I think he will literally be out that door at the first opportunity. But he's given himself a bit of a chance at a good move when he moves on from there, because not many people seeing it. He's given himself an opportunity to get into the Brazil squad as well there, because the chopping and changing that goes on in that midfield. Fred still gets in. He gets in ahead of fucking Fabinho sometimes. But, you know, there's Joelinton. I think he's left-footed as well. Is he left-footed central midfielder? Yeah. So exactly like Fred at the moment. So, yeah, it's a fair play to him. He's getting stuck in. Eddie Howe, look, we laughed at Eddie Howe getting that job again. Another one that's just keeping the seat warm, probably for Big Frank, his next move after Everton. But it's a good move by Eddie Howe, and it's, you know, he's getting the best out of him. So fair play to him up there.
Yeah. Phil, I'll come to you first then, Kev. Newcastle.
I can't believe you picked, if you're going to pick a winner of the week with Newcastle, that you didn't pick Chris Woods going meow every time he got near.
Oh, yeah, no, but I just
like that to me was winner of the week. The fact that the West Ham centre back, what was his name? The fella Craig Dawson complaining to the referee that your man is saying meow
every time that fella goes near the ball. Yeah. I know, like, it was just, do you know what? I did see that, and I just kind of laughed and moved on. But no, it was just watching the game, because I've heard Joelinton has been in midfield, and I just by chance happened to have it on here on Saturday. I usually wouldn't. I just like I'd be doing something else, playing golf or something, and I was looking, and it was a little while into it where I was going, who is your man in midfield? And then Joelinton, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, no one's going to go back and watch this match again, but my God, I just couldn't believe it. Phil, it's a bold move from Eddie Howe. Like, to stick your centre forward into midfield in a team that's struggling and under massive pressure to stay up because of the investment that's come into the club, you have to kind of turn around and go, you know what, fair play to you, because he could just easily have went, I'm bringing this guy in from Lyon and putting him in straight away because he's a midfielder. But he's persevering with this fella, and not even persevering, he's probably their best midfielder. It's mad.
Yes, and it also shows you the absolute level of shite that exists in the Premier League. If you look at Newcastle's run of form, they've gone draw, 3 wins and a draw. Right, that's their last 5 games with Joelinton, who every time I hear anyone say his name, all I can hear is Dolly Parton.
Joelinton.
Yeah, that's all I hear. I don't hear anything else. I just hear Joelinton. That's the only thing that goes in, and it just every time you were saying it, was going. That's all I hear. Now, whether that happens to blokes playing in midfield as well, somebody screaming over Joelinton, it gives them an extra half a second or something. But yeah, I think definitely for me, it's a bold move by Eddie Howe. But again, like everything, we don't know what causes these things. It's like it's not necessarily a plan. Sometimes just you're forced to play a certain hand. It works, and you try. Well, I'll try it again. Sure, there's no harm in trying it again. If it goes, if we don't change something around, fine. And then something plays out. Do you remember your man, Paul Warhurst? He played in goal one week, and he played centre forward another week, and he was a centre back. And then he was a centre forward. He played centre midfield at one point, but he went from being a centre back to a centre
back at Sheffield Wednesday. He went up front for one game.
Dion Dublin was the same.
Yeah, and then both of them made their debuts for England. Dion Dublin should have played for Ireland, the dope. But like he would have played for loads of games for us, right? So it's and like he had to be Irish with a name like that. So it's like there's definitely
the connection with the name.
It's his name.
Look, Cascarino got in.
Yeah, I suppose we've done worse.
Yeah, we just make stuff up. Alan Cork or whatever his name is, he could have played as well. Yeah. But
there are limits.
But like if you look at it, right. Sometimes, as I said to you, sometimes your circumstance forces a hand, and all of a sudden you figure a solution to a problem that you didn't think you were going to be able to solve based on the current squad, and this seems to have worked for them, so which is fantastic.
Kev, does things change if they lose 3 on the bounce? Do people start going, well, you're playing Joelinton in the midfield, like what are you playing at? Is it just a case of it's a good run and it looks good, and if it goes bad, people will be going like Eddie Howe's a Mongo, he's fucking playing, this fella in midfield? But I don't think it is, because I've seen him, and it's not like he's just a passenger kicking people. He's actually really fucking good.
He's playing he's done a decent job in midfield. But you brought in Bruno Guimaraes from Lyon at 40 million.
That's a nice pronunciation, Kev. Well done. Yeah. I like that. That was the hint of
Way
Portuguese.
better than I said it.
But they made a big deal out of it. This was their prize for January. Their big spend. and he's got bit parts roles off
3
the bench
substitute
at the end
appearances,
of
I
the game.
think.
Yeah, at the end of games, just for a kickabout. And Shelby's apparently in there on merit ahead of him. So he's had 2-3 weeks worth of training sessions with Newcastle. He's not going to get any better sat in his hole. So what the hell are they waiting for? Are they waiting to lose before they make a change? I don't get it. I got this thing, and you got to look at the French league. And what scares the shit out of me about us signing players from the French league and looking at some of the quality that is in the league, and it would worry the shit out of me, is the likes of what Spurs played for Ndombele and what Arsenal paid for Pepe and what Newcastle have paid for this guy. And you got to ask yourself, what's wrong? Why aren't they playing him? Is he as good as they thought? And he arrived at training and he's like miles off it. What's the story? And there's a lot of players that are linked with us. Like Tuchemi is another one, linked with us for big money. And I've seen an awful lot of players bombing coming from French league lately. And it would make me worry, it made me nervous about signing players from that league. So I really wanted to watch him, see how he gets on. Can he cope? Because Tuchemi is the one that we're looking for in a big way.
Kev, when you said Tuchemi there, I thought you were talking about twins from Tullamore.
Shamey 1 and Shamey 2.
Yeah, they were at the ploughing. I met them at the ploughing. They were
2 players for the price
If any have a phone anywhere near your microphone, turn the fucking thing off or fuck it across the room, will you? Because
look, Joelinton is doing really well. He's doing really well and doing the job that he's been asked to do. And I think it helps normally with Newcastle with Saint-Maximin playing in front of him. That give the ball to Saint-Maximin and he'll do the rest. He'll do the running for you. And he's okay. His passing range is fine. He's 6'2". He can get his foot in. But in all fairness, if they have any ambition about pushing on in the league, they got to start bringing these players that they've signed in and get him going now.
Well, look, we'll have to wait and see. And I just wanted to give him a big show, because I thought he was absolutely fantastic at the weekend. I was blown away watching him, and even at the end, he ran himself into the ground. He just kept going and going and going. I think he ends up getting taken off. It might be. No, was he taken off for the Bruno guy? I can't remember, but I just thought Joelinton was absolutely brilliant at the weekend. Keith.
Yes.
Winner, please.
Antonio Conte. Look, Antonio Conte, they do us a favour. Spurs do us a favour at the weekend. They beat Man City. They blow the title race wide open. But they were excellent. They were brilliant in that game. I'm not Harry Kane's biggest fan. He was brilliant. I'm not Antonio Conte's biggest fan, but he had them drilled. Antonio Conte does a job. Every team he goes to, he plays 3 at the back, he plays 4 in the middle, and then he has a striker with 2 players sort of playing off him, either in 2 10s or he might have 2 wingers. But he's very rigid in what he does. When he took that Spurs job, I thought, yeah, that's all right. They've a lot of centre-backs there. They've got centre-backs that can cover the wide areas. They've the makings of a Conte team, and it just didn't work for them. He made them harder to beat. He made them harder to break down. But there was something just wasn't right about it. But at the weekend, I thought he was excellent. I thought he got everything right. We spoke about it on the Fatback 4 last night. Where he got at City, it was highlighted on Match of the Day. He went in, took where the fullbacks, between the fullback and the centre-back, City do all their damage in there with the wingers, the false 9 dropping in, and they're playing 1-2s around you. Spurs absolutely cut them out there. Took them out there and just quick on the break and attacked the first goal, Kozalewski's goal. Great ball by Kane on the Son. Son's crossing it in there. They seem to have the makings of a good team, and all it really took was to bring in someone like Bentancur, I think, because their midfield was very soft. It wasn't a Conte midfield. And I think by bringing in Bentancur there, they brought in a player that suits how Conte wants to play and how Conte likes to play. He's a good ball winner, but he can use the ball as well. And I think he's going to be the difference for them. And I think he gives them the advantage now for the top 4. I think Spurs will get the top 4 because I think they've the best manager in that chase. I think they've got the best striker, obviously, in that in the mix now. With Harry Kane ahead of Ronaldo. I would say that's probably fair. And I think the all-round team, I think they probably are the best. So I think it's a good weekend for Conte. We talk about psychological boosts for Liverpool that were back in the race. Well, it's a psychological boost as well for Conte that they've gone there and they've done City. Do you know what I mean? So it's a great result for him. And he said after the game, it's the best group of players he's ever. Now, I know it's just a blatant soundboy from a manager. Do you know what I mean? You never trust what a manager says. But a few weeks ago, we were hearing about the transfer window. He's bleeding, going mad. He's pulling out his hair. He has to get a new hair transplant because he's a few weeks working with Daniel Levy. But it only takes one good result, one performance, not result, performance and result, because it was both. And everything turns around because that's what you're aiming to get to. And you get buy-in off the players, you get buy-in off the fans, you're getting buy-in off the media, you're getting buy-in off everybody. And I think they didn't have that up till now. And I think this is the turning point for them. I think Spurs will come good in that chase. But I'm delighted that it done us a favour, more than anything else. I'm delighted that a team stood up to Man City and had the balls. And we always thought it might be a Conte. It takes a brave manager to do it. And Conte is that. He's the best manager out of the top two. Do you know what I mean? You take away Guardiola and Klopp, and I think he's the best manager of the rest. So, yeah, brilliant.
It was a great win. 300 people watching, 113 likes. 5 people don't like it. If you don't like it, leave a comment afterwards and let us know why you don't. If you're only unliking just to wind us all up like you do in this fucking chat, fair play to you. Undo it by the end, though, will you? Or just do a like on the way out, wherever you want. Phil, was it perfectly set up for Conte at the weekend? Because I get the feeling that Conte enjoys his team being a little bit underdog, where he can set them in, he can set them in a certain way, and it's not on him to make things happen. It's on other teams to come out and play him, and then he can strike against them. Not even in a counter-attacking way. Just he counteracts what they're doing rather than being positive in what he wants to do with Spurs. Was it set up right for him at the weekend? And like, I'm not taking that away from the win. It just looked to me like that suits him down to the ground. The other team being considered a bit better than him.
It's a combo of two things. You've got Galaxy Brain against them, right? So fucking the man with two brains is going to overthink this shit. Spurs are a thorn in City side. They just have a hex over
them. They've done the double over this season.
It doesn't matter who the manager is. They just have a hex over them. City seem
having the last 4 managers or something. Spurs have all beaten Guardiola.
Yeah. He's I'm telling you, he's Galaxy Brain. He reminds me a lot of Sean McVay in the NFL. Like, he just overthinks things. This is why he'll never probably win the Champions League with Manchester City. He overthinks it. He tries to get too smart, too intelligent. He's looking at Conte coming, knowing the way they'll play 3 at the back and overthinks it. And at the same time, it takes a goal from Kane at the end, which like, Kane is there to prove a point that City should have spent 129 billion pounds on him in the summertime, right? So he has a point to prove, and you know, he was licking the ground and everything when he was running around trying to score his goals, and he was like, you could see he was out. He looked like the best version of the Labrador that you can be, with his tongue hanging out and trying to score goals and everything. So I think it was just a combination of all. I think the real answer is Spurs will come when they play against are Brentford in the league anymore, or Burnley or something. One of those teams, one of those shy teams. They're all in there, right? So one of these make-you up teams that
But they were beaten at home by Southampton. They were it was 3-2, but they were like battered on the stats wise. They were battered at home to Southampton. I think they knew there was another one at home then after that. And
that to me is where Spurs fall down. They can get themselves.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is it games where Spurs are being asked to take the mantle of in the game of we go and create, we're the better side, and they struggle. Whereas if Conte likes it where, we're going to City, or we're going to Liverpool, or even United, and even Arsenal maybe, where they're going to go, these are going to definitely attack us, and he's able to set out a stall in a really good way and play himself into games rather than having to take the initiative. That's what I think. I'm not taking away from the victory in any way. I just think it's set up nicely for Conte, especially like you said, when you have Guardiola off the back of watching Liverpool win, going in and probably overthinking it and trying to do stuff that he wouldn't normally do.
I don't even think it's watching Liverpool. I think he knows he's coming up a very good coach in Conte, right? And he's, again, and this is why I'll never have Guardiola in as the greatest coach of all time. He just overthinks it. Right? He overthinks it way too many times, and it's ultimately cost him Champions League trophies, because it's not just about how brilliant his Manchester City side is anymore. It becomes, well, how do I stop Conte's team from playing? Don't worry about Spurs. Spurs can't match you player for player. Just do what you've been doing all season long, and you'll walk all over Spurs. The one thing I love about Klopp is that he rarely adjusts how he wants the team to play to suit the other team. There's games he'll play and he'll sit low and say, well, we're going to play, we're more effective on the counter-attack against this style of team, or we know they're going to come at us, so we'll use the pace and speed we have up front to do it. But it's never about, well, I'm going to change the formation, I'm going to change my shape, and I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that to try counter what the other team is going to do. It's more so, if we're going to play this type of attack, we're going to do this. Whereas Guardiola is, for me, a very good coach, great coach, but he doesn't deserve the plaudits he gets, and he's never proven anything. He's not very
good at thinking on his feet and reacting to situations in games. That's his biggest problem. Spurs yesterday with Conte, that was tailor-made. That was a tailor-made game for Conte, because he had no problem giving up possession and let City have the ball in certain areas of the pitch, knowing that when they break, Kane is going to be in that 10 role, Son is going to be on his bike, and Kulusevski is going to be on the other wing. And they did it time after time after time. And they're not the only ones to do that. Lyon did it, Southampton did it, Palace did it. Any side that have given City trouble, that's how they do it.
It's not only that for me. It is that, there's no doubt about it, but it's the fact that
discipline and bravery to do it.
There's absolute bravery in it, because you will see teams getting the ball up to, if you say like a Newcastle, they get the ball up to Chris Wood away at Man City or a home to Man City, right? And nobody wants to go beyond them, and they might back them up and try to get the ball off and to hold on to it, but nobody wants to go beyond them. Every time he gets it into his feet, I want you two gone, and we're going to try play it in. That's where it falls down an awful lot of time. Yeah. So City just eat up the centre forward and put men around and get the ball off them and go again. And they know they're going to have the other 9 players behind the ball and the goalkeeper. Right, I'm going to move it on.
Isn't it funny? Very quickly, I have a good point.
Have you
I like a good point. Right. Now, isn't it funny with Guardiola, before we do move on, that he overthinks everything? And the only time was when Barcelona, he got criticised for never veering away from his system and his play, was when he won the Champions Leagues. And it's ever since then that he overthinks the whole fucking lot of it.
Well, that's him over, but that's him overthinking what outsiders are saying.
Yeah, but so when he didn't, he was winning Champions League.
Yeah, and then he heard that and he said, I better change something here to show them I can change. It's nearly like a one-upmanship. But look, fair play to Spurs, and it was a great win, and Conte deserves all the plaudits for that win at the weekend. We have 2 losers left. Kev, Brentford.
I'll be very quickly. Look, Brentford, from a promising start at the start of the season, from their win at Arsenal, they had a good 5-6 weeks, but I've never seen a side. It's been a long time since I've seen a side fall like a stone the way they have. Yeah, they've had some injuries, but the naivety is really starting to show in the way they're playing. They still haven't tried to adapt to the situation that they're in. And as it stands, I think they're going down. I think it's only a matter of time before the sides below them catch them.
Yeah, they just keep falling.
Absolute shocking form. They look like
the only thing I'd say to that, Kev, is that when you look at that bottom,
Kev, Phil, are you trying to climb into the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm getting closer. Right. Now, the only thing I'd say is when you look at the teams from Southampton down, any of them could go. Any of them. I think Norwich are gone. I think Burnley are gone. After that, then, it's a lottery from Leicester right the way down. Honestly, because any of those...
The only thing I'd say with Brentford, in their last 10 games, they've had 1 win, 1 draw, 8 losses, scored 6, conceded 20. And that's their biggest problem.
David Raya getting injured.
David Raya gets injured. He's the
keeper. Yeah,
he was huge for them.
Christian Eriksen got 2 assists today in a behind closed doors friendly. Maybe he's a spark that they get that will lift. You know what I mean?
Stephen Dunn says news talk comparing them to Blackpool when they went up, started bright and fell off. Blackpool were flying for the first 3 months of the season, and then just literally just didn't win another game. I think Holloway was in charge, and just fell and fell and fell. And you kept looking at it going, they had a great.
They had a
start to
really
the
high
season. There's
points total going down.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to, and they just kept falling and falling, and they went down the last day, I think, and they got beaten on the last day and went. But yeah, Brentford's definitely the one to look at, because as much as we talk about Everton being in it, Burnley trying to get out, Norwich seemed to have had a bit of a bounce but are falling back down again. Watford got a good win at the weekend. As much as you say that, there will be a team from up above that will just stand still because they're not getting any points, and eventually the table moves up below them. And
they could be marching on together into the relegation zone, some would say.
My loser of the week are Leeds United.
What a segue.
I watched them against United, and don't get me wrong, I don't think United are good. I think you can get at them at the back. I think in midfield, I don't know if they work hard enough. Although I will say they pressed Leeds very well at the weekend, but they obviously seen in Leeds that there's no point pressing them in midfield because they might get out and get a ball to a Rafinha or a Rodrigo or a Harrison or wherever it might be. United did push up and press on them, and Leeds just looked all over the place. I'm talking about the simplest of things, like the keeper couldn't kick the ball, right? Now, on this podcast, we've had loads of laughs over the years about Simon Mignolet not being able to kick the ball and how the ball actually sounds different when Mignolet kicks it and stuff. But this guy, Meslier in goal, could not kick the ball. He could.
Those people talking about him being a decent keeper.
It was astonishing to watch.
French under 21.
He gets it in the first half, right? And I seen him kicking the ball. It went out over the sideline near the dugouts, right? And I actually turned away from the game, and I heard another kind of groan. I looked, and there's a picture of him. I went, what did he do now? And they showed a replay where he just kicked it down the middle straight to a United player. And then it's played back to him. And he's loads of time. And he waits, and he kicks one out towards the left wing this time. And I swear to God, it goes out of play, and it's not within 20 yards of a Leeds player. Now,
actually, he has an absolute worldie against us.
Yeah, but the weather was horrendous, right? I'll give him that. But on top of that, when a keeper's not like that, you can't really give it back to him. But Leeds didn't change what they were doing, and they kept getting centre halves to fullback to midfielder. And instead of the midfielder turning out and trying to switch play or play it to another centre half, make a different angle, they were just popping it back to the same fullback. And then that fullback was under pressure, and he was kicking it out, or he was kicking it, and United were just taking it and moving with it. And look, the conditions weren't great. They're missing players, but they're going to miss them players for the next couple of games as well. And when I looked at it, I just thought to myself, they get back into it because they have a good 5-10 minutes where they get 2 goals really quick and they're back in it. But they lose a 4-2 in the end. But overall, they just looked like they were so open. They looked very nervous when they were put under any sort of pressure. And I fear for Leeds as well. And we talk about Brentford, and we talk about Everton, and we talk about the 3 that are down there at the moment in the bottom 3. But Leeds, to me, if they don't get players back quickly,
Leeds will pick up enough points between here and the end of the season.
If they don't get players back quickly here, I'm telling you, they
need Bamford.
We could be talking in 6 games' time where they haven't picked up another point, Phil. They look so open, and they look
so they've got Everton underneath them. They've got Brentford in around them. They've got Crystal Palace is in around there as well, and Crystal Palace have a decent run of form. All these teams that have had a decent run, I'd be more worried about Newcastle as well. Come to think of it, all these teams that have this decent run of form before March tend to get into lots of trouble by the middle of April, because this is, you need to, in this relegation battle, you need to time your good run of form right to an absolute T, and that good run of form needs to be the middle of March to the end of April, because that's where you maximise the impact of putting points on the board. At this moment in time, having a run of form that puts you on 27, 28 points isn't worth fucking wank. Like, you're better off having the odd win here and there to get you to that point, and then having 3 or 4 wins that quickly get you from 28 to 37, 38 points, knowing where you need only 1 win, say, from your last 4 games to more or less mathematically secure safety if you don't have it already. The problem you have is these teams that are having this little bit of run of form, that's where they're going to be the ones that could end up being right in the thick of it. And that's why I think Everton are banjaxed. I think Brentford will get dragged into, but I think they'll do enough to get out. And then I'm looking at Newcastle. I just keep looking at Newcastle are having the run of form right at the wrong moment. It's the classic, just that edge of, oh, we're going to be safe. We know we can, yet they're barely above the relegation zone at this stage. Like, think about it. They haven't lost in the last 5 games, yet they're only just above the relegation zone. They're fourth last. You know what I mean?
Kavanagh says Leeds have Liverpool, Spurs, Leicester, Villa, Norwich, and Wolves in the next 6. I looked at them.
I'd say they went 3 of them.
And no, but taking everything away, taking the conditions away and stuff like that, I just looked at them and I just thought
they're naive,
very naive, Kev, and they don't seem to sense danger, and they play nearly into it, and it's like nearly a fuck you to the opposition where we'll play into this danger, and it just doesn't work.
We'll go into
someone said I looked like the villain out of Lazy Town or Old Town or whatever is that kids program, which is Rotten Robbie. I remember it because I used to watch it. So because of kids.
That's the look you're known for, is it?
That's the look I'm known for, yeah.
Well,
look, I'm gonna get myself
a hot air balloon.
We've gone through 4 winners. We've gone through 4 losers. We've talked about a fella that had to put a heat pack on his gentleman bits after it was too cold at the Winter Olympics.
I can't believe he's done that twice though. Like the twice part's still.
Yeah.
In a half a race because they shortened it by 20 kilometers.
Like, somebody made a good point. If he strapped the Johnny onto it, right, the latex probably would have kept it from freezing.
Yeah,
there's an old trick.
Maybe he'll do that next time.
Well, there's an old trick goalkeepers.
Maybe if he goes and gets a couple of
stop their hands getting frozen in ice and cold matches.
Well, what he should be doing is he should be getting on to Tino Esprit, who had his own line of condoms, didn't he? And saying, Tino, what's the crack? Can you send me a couple of boxes? I'm going skiing in the snow.
If had he taken 3 Viagra for that 50-kilometer race and got on to Tino Esprit, would he have passed the drugs test? Think about it.
God knows.
It's full of hard lessons.
But that's it. We've done 4 winners. We've done 4 losers. Don't forget, we are going to have
voting in the snow.
We are going to have another go at BetMate on Wednesday for Liverpool v Leeds. We'll be talking about that in the midweek fix tomorrow night. Féileacáin is our sponsor, not our sponsor, our charity. And in the description, you will find all the details for Féileacáin's website and the donate page. And I want to give another shout out to Dynamo Kev, who after Shawnee cursed or made a mad saying 75 times last night in the podcast, he donated £75 or €100 today. We matched it, and €200 went towards Féileacáin this morning. So I want to give that a shout out. Anything you need for Féileacáin, BetMate, IP Vanish, it's all in the description. Go and check it out. 153 people have liked, 5 didn't. I expect 5 comments after this as to why you did not like it, and we'll try our best to make it better the next time. Kev, thanks a million. Anything else before we go?
No, we'll get into Leeds tomorrow night and probably pick our BetMate side for the midweek games.
Correct.
Go through all of that tomorrow night.
Phil, anything else before we go?
Yeah, I just want to say well done to the New Zealand female footballer who scored a perfect hat trick. Unfortunately, it was on her own goal. So I don't know whether she's a winner or a loser, right? Yeah. Like left foot, right foot, and a header.
Our mates couldn't even look at her after the third one.
She couldn't look at herself.
No,
she could see the girl just wanted the ground to like.
It was unbelievable.
She just wanted the ground to open up and swallow her. She was hoping that Putin had invaded the Ukraine so the game would be called off and she could just like bail out of there. That was like that. Literally, it was terrible.
It was unbelievable, and like I think the first 2 goals come in the first 4 minutes of the game or something. It's ridiculous. Like,
I think within a half an hour she got a hat.
Yeah, and you could see that when the third one goes in, we were going to put it up on screen, but it's footage and we will get done for copyright. But when the third one goes in, you're going, oh, look at her mates. They can't even look at her. They're actually pretending that she's not there anymore. So God love her. That defender from New Zealand. But as I said, Féileacáin, BetMate, IP Vanish, it's all in the description. I hope you've liked the first edition of Winners and Losers. It will be back next week. It mightn't be us 4. It might be 4 other completely different people, or it could be 2 of us or 3 of us.
No, I'll be back.
We don't know.
I'll be back.
Phil will be back. Phil's determined now that he's going to come back every week and fucking do all his heads in for an hour or an hour and 15. We've done well though. An hour and 15 wasn't bad. We tried to keep it to an hour. We'll try a bit.
Someone said that was one of the LFC women's players as well.
Or it wasn't.
No, it wasn't, was it?
No.
Where's Chris Brack? Where's Brack when he's
Bracky could tell you.
He's disappeared. Look, he's
but
disappeared.
Jesus, like
gone.
it was unbelievable to watch. Like the goals going in, and just watch it. The third one, you're kind of going, oh fucking hell! Like this is, you nearly turning away from me. It was that bad. But Keith, anything else before we go?
Not the Masters football is back if anyone's interested in that
Oh,
sort
yeah,
of
that's
thing.
coming back. Yeah,
That
the
used to
new
be great
company.
when I was a kid. I used to watch that, the G-Mix and all. It'd be all on. Great time.
Braehead Arena in Scotland, I think, is going to hold the first one. It's a new company that have taken it and are going to run with it, and I'm sure Sky will pick it up because everyone loves watching a bit of Masters football. That has been winners and losers for this Monday night. I should be back at 2 o'clock tomorrow with the Cop update. We'll definitely be back tomorrow night with the midweek fix. Joe Wayman is going to be on. Leeds fan, he should be on with us. I think it's me, Kevin, Chris, along with Joe tomorrow night, and then the rest of the week we'll sort it out as we go. You know how it works. Thanks for watching.
When is football in the world on?
It's not on yet. We're fucking too busy, Phil. Piss off and
Can I come on
He is
football
a
in the
bleeding
world?
Yeah,
Liverpool
you can come
player.
on for football in the world when I get bleeding 5 minutes to do it. Jesus Christ.
It is a Liverpool player, look.
She is a Liverpool player, yeah.
She is a Liverpool player.
Well, she need a lot of arms around her when she comes back because
I was glad to get her out of the way on international
She was
TV,
walking
that's all I
along
was
that
saying.
pitch.
It was
She was walking along
unbelievable.
after
It was
40 minutes as well.
like,
Nobody was wanting to talk
all
to
from
her.
a combination of about 7 yards when you add them all up. It was ridiculous. But anyway, that is it. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Talk to you in a bit. Over now.